problem that a lot of us have with the referees is it's either very physical and they're calling everything, or they're missing calls.
There's some type of agenda going on with the Indiana Fever coaching staff.
There is a philosophical rift in the team.
She has a long career ahead.
The WNBA just did the unthinkable by suspending the refs after repeatedly ignoring fouls on Caitlin Clark. Yup, the same officials who let her get tripped, shoved, and poked are now quietly being pulled off the court. After months of silence, fan outrage, and viral footage finally forced the league to act. And it's about time.
So there is some more footage that has surfaced of people pretty much trying to dissect this whole push-off situation.
It's been brewing for over a year now, and the WNBA just did what nobody thought they ever would. They suspended referees after repeated missed calls and flat-out dangerous treatment of Caitlin Clark. This isn't some overreaction or emotional rant. The league admitted it. They said their officials lost control of a game that left Clark poked in the eye, shoved to the floor, and somehow still hit with a technical foul. And now, heads are finally starting to roll.
We know that this has been the conversation in regards to Caitlin Clark's style of play for quite some time. A lot of people want to say she is thin that forearm.
But let's be honest, this didn't start with one ugly game. This has been a pattern, clear as day, since the moment Caitlin Clark set foot in the league. Go back to June 2024. Chennedy Carter shoves her to the floor, and what do the refs do? They call it a common foul. No flagrant, no ejection, no consequences. Just a pat on the back and play on. That year alone, Clark was hit with 5 flagrant fouls, 4 of them coming from the Chicago Sky. And still, not a single referee faced even the hint of discipline. That's not officiating. That's targeted indifference.
A lot has been said in these last 48 hours in regards to the motion offense.
Fans weren't stupid. They saw what was happening. They called it what it was: prison ball. A nasty physical style of play that looked less like basketball and more like a hazing ritual. And yet, while Clark kept suiting up, draining logo threes and literally dragging the Fever into relevance, the refs just kept their whistles tucked away like it was league policy. And the WNBA? Nothing. Radio silence. No public statement, no reprimands, just generic press releases, passive phrases like, "We're reviewing the situation," and a whole lot of moving forward.
The refs did not have control over the players. They did not have control over the game for pretty much the entire game. The game was chippy from the jump.
Then in the third quarter, Sheldon poked her in the eye again. This is something we see all the time. They were on each other. They were talking. It was trashy. The superstar like MJ, unstoppable.
Then came the moment that broke it all open. June 17th, 2025. Fever versus Connecticut Sun. Clark gets poked in the eye, tries to keep her balance, and before she can even see straight, she's shoved to the ground. On camera, in high definition, from multiple angles, and yet somehow she's the one hit with a technical foul. The crowd gasped, analysts were stunned, and fans absolutely lost it. It was so outrageous, the WNBA had to say something, so they finally did. They admitted, word for word, that the referees had lost control of the game. But here's the thing, that game came and went. Clark moved on, the season continued, and still, the league stayed quiet on any actual action. No suspensions, no referee accountability, just silence. Until about a month later, when an expert breakdown blew the whole thing wide open.
I think this is one of those things where it might be a turning point, and I think this could be a little bit of a weird one.
That's when a basketball expert stepped in. He went full forensic investigator mode, broke down the tape frame by frame, exposing how Clark wasn't flopping, wasn't pushing off, she was being tripped. It was plain, it was obvious, and it was willfully ignored. And once the footage started circulating, oh, it got loud, real loud. Fans, analysts, even former players, everyone started asking the same question. Why hasn't the league done anything?
Saying that there are people at the game, saying this, somebody literally said they were at the game. And again, I'm talking about this as if it is a fact.
Suddenly, the WNBA couldn't hide anymore. The noise was deafening, the pressure was real, and the receipts were piling up. And that's when it happened. The league, quietly, with no press release or public statement, finally acted.
there were people at the game that have told me that this happened and they saw it.
Refs were suspended, not announced, not confirmed in headlines, but sources confirmed it. The same officials responsible for multiple Clark controversies? Benched, reassigned, removed from high-profile games. Not because they wanted to protect her, but because the fans, the media, the entire basketball world left them no other choice. Because when your league's biggest star is getting bullied on national television and you do nothing, that's not just bad optics, that's a business risk. And for once, the WNBA realized ignoring Caitlin Clark was no longer an option.
There's some type of agenda going on with the Indiana Fever coaching staff. To me, look like they're trying to sabotage Caitlin Clark or maybe mold her into the player that they want her to be.
But it wasn't just the refs anymore. Experts didn't hold back. They accused the Indiana Fever coaching staff of trying to sabotage Clark, or worse, to mold her into some watered-down version of herself. All while using her name, image, and likeness to sell jerseys and boost the brand. And honestly, he wasn't the only one saying it.
Yes, you have somebody in Caitlin Clark who became the face of the league the first year that she was in the WNBA. She put up crazy numbers last season, and even in this season, where she has struggled more games than she has balled out, she is still putting up wild numbers.
Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA right now. She's filling arenas, driving merch sales, and pulling in record-breaking viewership. But she was also one technical foul away from suspension, not because of attitude, but because refs kept punishing her for protecting herself. The pressure was on. And now, finally, referees have been suspended. Not publicly announced, not yet. But the leaks are out. Multiple insiders confirmed it. The league is retraining officials and reevaluating how they call freedom of movement. Some are even calling it the Clark Rule. The WNBA had a choice: keep protecting inconsistent refs or protect the player who's keeping their league alive. And for once, they made the right call. But the real question now, will it last?
Agreed with her. Most of the world was fed up with everything that was going on the court. They're fed up with the refs. They're fed up with the physicality getting to a point where players can get injured. And a lot of people were like, you know what? Finally, there's an enforcer on the court.
Let's be brutally honest here. The WNBA had no choice. The pressure wasn't just high, it was volcanic. The fans? Oh, they weren't just mad, they were in full-blown revolt mode. Tweets flying like daggers, comment sections going up in flames, and sponsors lurking with crossed arms and checkbooks half closed. The message was loud and clear. Protect Caitlin or prepare to crash and burn.
The Indiana Fever organization, to me, is looking like they're using Caitlin Clark for name, image, and likeness to somewhat build up their brand as a whole.
And honestly, the Indiana Fever aren't exactly off the hook here either. They're using her for her name, image, and likeness. But they ain't protecting her. And that's the part that stings, because it's starting to feel real.
That the WNBA does better when she is on the court.
Caitlin Clark has been the face of the league, whether they like it or not. She's selling tickets, she's breaking records, she's putting the WNBA on front pages and late-night shows. And yet, they're out here letting her get bullied on the court while the coaching staff draws up plays like they're trying to hide her. It's like buying a Ferrari and then refusing to take it out of first gear. And guess what? That trip wasn't even the first time things got shady. Let's rewind to May 2025, Indiana versus New York Liberty. Final seconds, game on the line. Clark drives hard, gets clearly fouled by Natasha Cloud. Coach Stephanie White couldn't hold it in. She called it egregious and lit into the officials during the postgame. And what did the league do? Admitted the mistake, but again didn't discipline a single ref. Just another statement, another shrug, and another game Clark had to tough out without backup.
Put these TikToks together, put these videos together, kind of, breaking down everything that has happened with the WNBA referees, because we have another game and we have another situation where WNBA referees fail to make the right calls against Caitlin Clark and the Fever.
When it comes to Caitlin Clark, these players are not getting any better. I think they're locked in, they're bound and determined to hate on the Indiana Fever guard.
And it gets worse. These aren't isolated moments. These are the same referees, the same faces showing up in multiple Caitlin Clark controversies. That's not a coincidence, that's a pattern. And some fans are starting to ask the real question: is there a blacklist? Are there refs who just refuse to give her calls out of spite, bias, or some weird old-school resentment? It's starting to feel like that. And inside the Fever locker room, things are boiling over. Sophie Cunningham didn't mince words. Whatever offense we was running before, we need to just give the ball to Caitlin. That's not just frustration, that's a warning shot. Sophie's played long enough to know what's up. She sees the offense trying to run through everyone but the player that's drawing thousands of new fans every night.
It is a really interesting situation, and it is clear that there is a philosophical rift in the team.
So now, it's not just the refs, it's not just the fouls, it's not just missed calls and tripping incidents, it's a bigger problem. A possible internal effort, whether intentional or just incompetence, to limit Caitlin's influence. While the world sees her as the centerpiece, the league and even her own coaching staff seem stuck playing keep away.
And I feel like she should have been voted by the players differently. And I'm honestly not going to harp on this too long because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
But here's the twist, Clark is still shining, still putting up numbers, still selling out arenas. So the league had to make a move. They finally suspended referees, quietly, yes. But the message was loud, protect your stars or watch your league fall apart. Because at this point, everyone's watching, every call, every shove, every leg accidentally left in her path. The refs might be sweating, the coaches might be scrambling, but Caitlin Clark, she's just getting warmed up.
Microism of what will eventually be the downfall of the W if they don't change their ways. Allowing this treatment of CC will continuation of prison ball, and new fans will leave.
All right, now let's get into the real reason the WNBA finally got off the fence and took action. And no, it wasn't some sudden moral awakening. It was money. Cold, hard business pressure. Because for a minute there, the league looked like it was about to fumble the bag big time. And the bag's name? Caitlin Clark.
The Indiana Fever, more than 24 hours advance, let fans know, hey, Caitlin's not going to be there.
Let's be real. Everything right now is tied to Clark's star power. Ticket sales, spiking. Merchandise, flying off shelves, TV ratings, highest they've been in years. People aren't just watching, they're they're invested. Fans are showing up in record numbers wearing number 22 jerseys, little girls are lining up for autographs, and national networks are airing Indiana Fever games like it's the playoffs. That's not normal. That's Clark.
It's a tough blow not only to Caitlin because we know that she loves to be on the court. It's a tough blow for the Indiana Fever because that is their superstar.
But while the fans were cheering her on, the league was letting her get body slammed and whistled for it, over and over again. And folks started noticing, not just diehard W fans, but everyone. Mainstream media, corporate sponsors, even casuals who didn't know a flagrant from a free throw. Everyone started asking, why is the WNBA letting their biggest star get treated like this? And that's when things turned ugly. People started talking, loudly, and not just online. Sponsors started sending emails. Big ones. TV execs were asking questions. Some insiders even said a few companies hinted that if Clark got injured and it was due to league negligence, they might walk. Entire partnerships on the line. As one league source reportedly put it, you let her get injured and you lose the golden goose. Boom.
Some slippage and some issues that we had. I think we're a better defensive team today than we were the last time that we played.
At the same time, Clark was creeping up on automatic suspension territory. Yeah, she had already racked up 5 technical fouls in 2025, and under league rules, she was this close to sitting out games, not because she was out of control, but because she was defending herself and getting hit with nonsense calls. It was getting ridiculous. One more tech, and Clark, the league's most bankable star, would have been watching from the sidelines. That's when the front office started sweating. And let's be honest, they should have. Because the fans weren't playing anymore. So what did they do? Something no one expected. They finally acted. Not publicly, but sources say multiple referees have been quietly suspended. Yep, refs who were involved in the most egregious Caitlin Clark no calls? Gone. Benched. Possibly even reassigned or removed from key games moving forward, all happening behind the scenes.
To get strict with the freedom of movement calls, because they could avoid all that just by calling the initial foul, which was a hand check gripping her bicep.
And here's the kicker. This is the first time in league history that officials have been disciplined for consistently denying fouls to a specific player. not just for bad calls in general, but specifically for how they handled Caitlin Clark. That's history, whether they announce it or not. Sources close to the league say they've launched referee retraining sessions, especially focusing on what they're now calling freedom of movement standards, aka stop letting defenders turn games into street fights. They're also re-emphasizing flagrant foul rules, because if a player's getting shoved, poked, or tripped, you gotta call it, especially when it's happening to the face of your entire league.
Expect to see Caitlin Clark with the ball in her hands tonight. If not, there's definitely something wrong.
So yeah, the WNBA finally acted. But not because they wanted to, because they had to. And now, every whistle is under the microscope, every bump, trip, and missed call, getting replayed 1,000 times online. The refs know it, the coaches know it, and Caitlin Clark, she's just out there doing what she always does. Bawling, breaking records, and making everyone around her nervous. Because now, for once, she's not alone. The league finally blinked, and the fans, they're watching closer than ever. If you have come this far, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up.